This father frantically called his son before he and his wife suffered a terrible fate. When Steven Standley set out to meet up with his son Jared one evening, he somehow knew things wouldn't end well. In fact, he was so scared that he contacted his other son to voice his fears. In a chilling final phone call, he told his boy, "If you don't hear from me in 20 minutes, call 911. On March 14, 2018, Steven Standley had set out to meet his son Jared. Just a week before, the 21-year-old had been asked to move out of the family home in Buckley, Washington, where he had previously lived with his father and mother, Teresa Standley. But out of the blue, it seems Jared had come back. According to Pierce County Police, it's thought that Steven believed his son had somehow acquired a gun and he was going to confront Jared about it. It was a situation that concerned Steven greatly. So much, in fact, that before meeting Jared, he'd placed a call to another of his sons telling him what was happening. In that phone call, Steven said, "If you don't hear from me in 20 minutes, call 911. When he hadn't heard back after the allotted period, the son's fears grew. Having repeatedly tried to call his father without reply, under Steven's instructions, he called 911, requesting police to check that all was well. An officer from the Pierce County Sheriff's Department arrived at the Standley home, situated in the 23,000 block of 162nd Street East. He noticed a bullet hole in the glazing section of the front door. Inside the house, however, all seemed quiet. The deputy called in asking for backup. Police said when the supporting squad arrived, officers gained access to the dwelling via tactical entry. Inside, they found two bodies, those of 55-year-old Steven and his wife, Teresa, age 56. Their son, Jared, who Steven had been due to meet that evening, was nowhere to be found, however. Officers searched the area, including outbuildings in the woods nearby, but there was no trace of Jared. Reporting detectives learned that the 21-year-old had rented a car. Shortly after midnight, a notice was issued across the state for all police to be on alert for the vehicle. Just 10 minutes or so later, the vehicle was spotted by an officer in Tumwater, Washington, around 50 miles from the Standley's residence. Jared was behind the wheel. According to police accounts, as the officer approached the car, he asked Jared to step out of the vehicle. However, the driver apparently had other ideas. Jared allegedly put his foot down, accelerating toward the officer. "We knew he wasn't going to be taken alive. He kind of made threats like that," Detective Ed Troyer later told radio station Como News. The officer opened fire, hitting the 21-year-old driver in the shoulder. Despite being wounded, Jared allegedly continued an attempt to escape and again tried to drive away. This time, a sheriff's deputy's car deliberately struck the rental vehicle, bringing it to a halt, Como News was told. Jared was arrested and taken to the hospital. "As bad as this is, it could have ended a lot worse," Detective Troyer commented at the time, telling Como News. "We're very happy the Thurston County people are okay. The Tumwater officer is okay." Jared was later charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. To date, there are no other suspects. Daily Washington State newspaper, the News Tribune, reported interviewing officers were told by Jared that he had returned home deliberately to murder his parents because he hates them so much. When Jared had arrived, however, his mother was the only person home. He allegedly beat her with a bat. According to the News Tribune, court documents and investigators said that Jared allegedly struck his mom in the head multiple times before swaddling her corpse in a tarpaulin. Apparently, attempts were also made to clean up the murder scene. "We think he was going to hide the bodies because one was wrapped up in a tarp," Detective Troyer told Como News. Jared had then lain in wait for his father to return home, the News Tribune reported. When he arrived, Jared followed him into the house. The defendant said he was trying to get his father into the house so he could shoot him quietly or stab him with a knife, asserted Deputy Prosecutor Jared Ossier in court documents. Newspaper, the Daily Mail, reported that instead, Steven ran into the house with his son close behind, with the father's attempts to keep Jared out proving futile. It's been alleged that Jared pulled out a gun and put a bullet through his father's skull, firing through a glazed section of the door. "I don't feel like a gunshot to the head is really that upsetting," the News Tribune reports that Jared told investigators, "but I was fairly apologetic about having to bludgeon Terry twice." It's further alleged that Jared stole Teresa's money and credit cards and attempted to disguise himself by cutting his hair. Jared, whom Como News has described as having anger problems, faces 2 counts of aggravated first-degree murder. At the formal reading of his criminal charges on March 19, 2018, The 2018-year-old pleaded not guilty. He was ordered to be held without bail by Court Commissioner Megan Foley. Under state law in Washington, anyone convicted of aggravated murder can either be sentenced to life in prison without parole or to a death sentence. According to prosecutor Mark Lindquist, the state has 30 days to choose whether or not to pursue the death penalty, with the possibility of time extensions at the request of the defense. Even if prosecutors do successfully pursue the death penalty and achieve a conviction, it doesn't necessarily mean that Jared will be put to death immediately. While it's true that recent attempts to abolish capital punishment in the state of Washington failed, there's a further consideration. Since January 2013, Jay Inslee has served as the state's 23rd governor. The Democratic Party member placed a temporary legal suspension on the death penalty in 2014. This means that even if Jared is convicted of the murders and sentenced to death, it couldn't be carried out for as long as Inslee remains in office. Check out these other videos from Let Me Know. If you haven't made the move to subscribe to our channel, all you need to do is click on that red subscribe button. Thank you for watching.